Hello, this is Father Pepe Ruiz, and I will be talking today to Father John Lan Tran. He's a Jesuit that is working, giving retreats in the Spirituality Center in Grand Coteau. And this is the beginning of a series where we will be talking to people around the province and seeing what God is doing through their ministry, how they're finding God there. So, if you're interested in knowing a little more about what others are doing engaged in Ignatian spirituality, or if you want to know what this kind of ministry is like, this is probably a place where you can gain some wisdom and some insight as we borrow it from the people that are working day in and day out in the trenches and seeing the face of God, sometimes through the prayer of other people. So let's go and talk to John. My friend John Lantron. How you doing, John? It's good to see you.
Very good. Good to see you, Pepe.
Yeah. So, John, I was just wondering, we can have this conversation, and we talked a little bit about this, and uh, but first, if you can just tell us about kind of the work you do there in Grand Coteau. John and I, just to let you know, are starting kind of this project together. We're both engaged in Ignatian Spirituality. He's doing retreats in Grand Coteau as a retreat director. And we're trying to. He's good with technology, and we're trying to get people around the province to like share their wisdom. So we're starting together just to have a conversation about what God is doing in our ministry, and John, so I'll let you talk a little bit about what you do there in Grand Coteau and how you got started into it.
I am in my third year here at the Spirituality Center. Uh, it's actually called the Spirituality Center, located in Grand Coteau. What it is it's a personal retreat program. We have people coming in to do retreat here, one on one. So this is not a preach retreat. Nobody gives up and give talks here. Um, so people would come every day to see their spiritual director, somebody who would guide or accompany them on their spiritual journey while they are here in Grand Coteau. So we have people who would come for 3 day or 5 day or 8 day retreats. Um, Even though we call it 3 days, for example, it's actually 5 days. It starts the day before, so we have one day to travel, and then you spend 3 full days, and then you leave on the fifth day. So uh, it's a little bit longer than that. My job here is to be a spiritual director, a spiritual guide or companion for people who come here. I am in my third year here, and it has been a joy to be here, especially after COVID. Now that we
Hmm.
have people coming back to
Yeah.
to retreat,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've been doing retreats for a long time, right? I know you work with Hung and all kinds of retreat work, and maybe you can tell us a little bit of kind of how you ended up here and how has
I
that journey been?
actually got to know the Jesuits through retreat. I went to
Hmm.
a weekend retreat while I was in high school. I went to a public high school in Kansas City, North Kansas City High School,
Hmm.
and I went to a retreat with a Jesuit, and eventually um, went to more retreats with Jesuits. So I have always been involved with retreats. Some as a minister, as a priest later on, but I've been involved in retreats with the Vietnamese CLC. I have given
Mm-hmm.
retreat right after my in my third year as a Jesuit, right after our novitiate. I given retreat on to all kinds of people. Given retreat in Vietnam, in Vietnamese, given retreat in the U.S. To Vietnamese American youth
Mm.
with Hưng Pham. I have given retreat in high schools where I worked at. Given retreat in Belize while I was working down there. Spent 2 years in Dallas doing preach retreat, and now I'm doing individual retreats. So a little bit of everything. As we say, jack of all trades and master of none.
I don't know. Yeah, so you've been there 3 years and done all this work, and yeah, the the group of people that come to Grand Coteau uh, is what are the normally the ages for that, and how has it been since COVID? Has it changed or?
Um, in general, we have an older population that comes to retreat. People in their 60s, usually.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a number of younger people, a fewer, and then some older people in their 70s. After COVID, we resumed retreats. We have the capacity of having maybe 35 retreatants or more. But with COVID, we restricted to 24 because our dining room can only accommodate 24 people with distancing and everything.
Yeah.
Um, we have all kinds of people. The beauty of working here is I never know who are going to walk through the door.
Hmm.
We started a retreat yesterday. So I have a retreatant right now in her probably late 40s who is not a Catholic.
Oh wow.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and I have a Vietnamese retreatant, and I have a religious sister who um, uh, is a little bit older. So every retreat, there's something new, someone new. Yeah, I have worked with several, two Anglican priests since we
Wow.
returned. Yeah.
Yeah. How
So
are those? I guess without saying too much about the person, like working with somebody that's not Catholic. What is your kind of approach? The
I
graces
actually
even working like that? Uh-huh.
I actually look forward to folks who are a little bit different from the typical, if there is such thing as being a typical background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think if people are searching for God, then we
Mm.
have a place to start. In fact, I found that uh, people who come here usually have some ideas of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So even though one was a first timer, um, and uh, and I try to listen to them, and like everybody else, try to help them to discern, to see where God is inviting them. Uh, Retreat fundamentally is about growing, transforming, continuing to continue conversion to be closer to God. So, in that sense, everybody, whether you are Catholic or a Protestant, uh, or I have people who few retreatants who were agnostic, but they're
Mm.
searching. And
Mm.
so uh, we always have to respect people where they are and seeing where God is inviting them. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this. I guess in the end, we share a faith in Jesus Christ, and if they're at the door, they're probably uh, knowing that you're a priest and there's some openness. I know I've had some chances of working in Dallas at some point, visiting, knowing that there were a bunch of Protestant pastors that would go yearly to the house in Dallas to get trained on how to do Ignatian prayer, Ignatian spirituality, and discernment. So I guess it's not, and throughout a lot of training and in spiritual direction, I had a bunch of pastors also getting trained. That uh, I don't know what's been like for you, but I know it's like to me it's been kind of like a joy to be able to, like, it's somehow easier to join forces here than if we start talking about theology, right?
I think also it's a gift we are being called to share.
Mm,
Some churches, some denominations, some groups are not as strong in spirituality.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
I have retreatants who are not familiar with things like discernment of
mm-hmm.
listening, or even silent prayers. A lot of people understand prayer mainly to the lens of petitions, of asking, of singing praises to God. And so for some folks, they come with the desire to get to know God better, to learn silent prayer, to learn to discern, to learn the movement within ourselves. And
Yeah.
so it's always interesting. We have six people on staff here,
Mm-hmm.
um, and two lay people. We have a woman and a man working here, have been here for a long time. And the woman retreat director is one of the most highly requested. So
Mm.
when people fill out a retreat application, when they fill out their registration,
They're
they
like,
have
not
a
the priest.
yeah, never with a judgment. No.
Yeah.
No, we have people who say, I only want a Jesuit priest as my
Sure.
director.
Yeah, sure.
But our Nelda, our uh, woman retreat director, is one of the most highly requested
Mm,
person. Yeah.
mm,
And part of it is because we have a lot of retreatants, people who come on retreat who are women
mm.
and would like to be directed by a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that
So
understanding of their life experiences. And, sure.
it's
Yeah.
also a learning experience for me to work with women,
Mm, mm,
and to learn to yeah it. Most of my retreats are usually have men, either some boys or men. I have worked with a woman before and given retreat to women, but spiritual direction, one on one, bringing it to a higher level. People telling you things that are going on deep in their lives, and to learn to listen to people who have different experiences, different perspective, and to see how they work. I really I study the letters of Saint Paul when I was doing my theology work,
mm-hmm.
my STL, my licentiate, and I love Paul's writings and but I got a woman who came and said, I can't stand that man.
Yeah, well, he has
Instead
all
of
that stuff about, women submit to
yeah,
your husband.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can see that.
There are some parts of Paul that can be
Wow.
not very appealing to women. But
Yeah.
instead of arguing with her, blah blah blah, and I
Mm,
just said, so what? Please let me know what would be helpful to you.
mm,
So we go through some of the women in the gospel, Mary Magdalene, the woman at
mm,
the well,
mm,
I'm still hesitant about the adulterous woman. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's like
sure
not the best example. Yeah, but
how
yeah,
to use it.
you get people. This it's women twice in scripture that seem to like change Jesus' plans, right? Like the woman at the well. Uh, it seems that Jesus was gonna skip going through Samaria, and he meets
Hmm.
her, and there's like a shift, and Jesus goes in, and she becomes the first kind of uh, evangelizer, right? In the I think in Gospel of John, and then the other is that woman asking for the scraps, uh, uh,
Yeah,
and
I think it's the Phoenician woman or something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because there is like Jesus seems to be thinking like the good news are only for the Jewish people, and there's like a shift in Jesus' ministry where kind of Jesus agrees with her. So like these are powerful stories with women. So, and I guess we can fall into the trap of um, not highlighting those. Uh, there's a couple of books about this and saying like, well, maybe some of the emphasis of Ignatius himself might have been a little bit more on like some male elements, and although he worked with women, so yeah, so what do you find helpful kind of working with women? Some of it is like highlighting female
Well,
stories, and yeah.
what I learned is sometimes I just should shut up and let people talk.
Love it.
No, a lot of times people tell things that for example, it seems to me that mothers part
Mm,
of their job is to worry about their children and try to
sure.
tell them, don't worry about it. It's not very helpful. Um,
Mm,
and so,
mm,
to listen to see where they are coming from. I've never been a mom before. Although I have a mom, and understand some of the things she did, and didn't understand a lot of things she did.
mm,
So it's a learning experience. It asks for humility
mm,
um, I had a retreat, and then I told her maybe you have to take the lead. Maybe you be the
mm.
spiritual director, and I'll follow along and see where God is leading you. But
Yeah,
it's good learning, and also to see. The amazing thing is to see how God lead people. Yeah.
I
Um,
was gonna say it
and
sounds a lot like what Ignatius says in the exercises, in the annotations of like our job is not to be the source of wisdom, and but just to place the creature with the creator and just kind of let God do the job. So it sounds like that's what you're saying. Like that's what I did.
yeah, there are those things that we don't really know what to do. Yeah, I told you the story before. Running, we have all sort of different retreatants. I
Mm-hmm.
had a retreatant who have either dementia or Alzheimer. I'm not sure which one.
Oh my God! Yes. Oh, please do tell. What a wonderful unique experience to work with somebody that doesn't have like a good short-term memory, maybe, or
Well, by the third day, when she repeated the same thing the third time,
mm.
then it's dawned
Oh my
on me
God.
that something is going on, and she didn't seem to be aware of it, and
Mm.
so
That's funny. But she was coming at the same time, so she knew enough to
I,
know like we have a meeting and I'm in a retreat house.
yeah, I think she's not that far into
Uh
her
huh.
dementia.
Mm.
Uh, you know, some of it. Um, but far enough that I realized she couldn't do the quiet reflection that
Mm.
some other people, or maybe
Mm.
she could never do them at all. I don't know, but
Mm.
I would give her something. I suggest something to go and pray, and the third day I stopped asking, "What
She's
did you do in
realized
your
she's
room?"
bringing the same thing, huh? Hmm.
Well, she spent a lot of time writing out her prayers. You know,
Oh.
not the prayer she makes up, but she memorized some of the prayers. The morning offering,
Oh.
what's the memoria? Is that what it is? The prayer to Mary.
Hmm.
Um, and so I asked her to bring them in. And she wrote me a prayer for me. Yeah. So these are
Hmm.
prayers from the prayer books, and some of them she still remember, and she would write them out. She loved what you call the handwriting thing. You know, yeah, she's into handwriting and
But poetry
script.
or just
No, just some people love doing
oh
handwriting.
calligraphy
Yeah.
and yeah, like
Yeah, something like that. And
okay.
then she wrote all these little prayers,
Wow.
and she so I asked her if she didn't mind bringing it with her, and
Ooh.
she would bring these things, and she make cards instead of drawings or something. She would write a prayer in the place in the front of the card, and she would send them to people. Yeah. And
Ah.
so that was our retreat. And
Wow.
so instead, I went to the director and I said, "Do you realize that that person maybe have dementia or Alzheimer?" He said, "Yeah, I remember her from last year."
Oh. So she had it last year.
Well, every year
That's
it seems to get a little bit worse,
yeah.
as she gets
Hmm.
older. Yeah.
But what a wonderful thing because it sounds like she was finding a space for God. And it was in writing and maybe repeating these prayers, God was finding her. And even though she might not have the RAM space up here to follow through with like a meditation, God was finding her in this writing the prayers and she kind of knew that she went and do that and
Well,
that's beautiful. Mm.
I thought of myself, what would a person in her condition do?
Mm.
How would they pray?
Mm.
And maybe that's the best way she knows how to pray.
Yeah.
Uh, and so instead of trying
To force
to
it or cancel the
yeah,
retreat or
have her pray certain way,
yeah.
that's how she learned how to pray.
Mm.
We have retreatants here who struggle with silent prayer. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So sometimes, for some people, that means they do the Stations of the Cross. Sometimes they do the Rosary,
Mm.
um, more devotional prayer. And instead of sitting for 45 minutes and do silent meditation, sometimes I suggestion they go out outside, sit on the swing, and maybe just ponder about certain things. Um, so there is no one thing, one method that fits everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and it's our job to see where the person is
Yeah.
and where God is inviting them, and at times push them a little bit. Uh, Sometimes I wonder if people actually pray, and
Mm.
so I
Mm.
ask them, "Did you pray?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine, especially at the beginning of retreat, a lot of people come in very tired, and it's hard for them to even get started with prayer. They just need to get it all out, no?
Well,
Or the
I
rest.
always make it a point on the first day to ask people to go to rest,
Mm.
to
Mm.
sleep in. Yeah,
Yeah.
skip a few prayers if you are too tired.
That's
you
wonderful.
know, especially when people are here for a longer time. time, 5 or 8 days. First day is to rest, maybe to pray a couple times instead of the normal 3 or 4 times. Because sometimes people are working full time, and it's like driving 70 miles an hour, and now we have to drive 5 miles an hour.
Yeah. 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 The
It
inertia
takes some
of
time
their
to
life is
adjust.
hard to make it stop. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some people come to retreat, and they get restless because they don't have enough things to do.
Yeah.
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 I mean, on a one-on-one retreat, you have around 8 hours of free time a day.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
my calculation. What are you going to do with 8 hours of free time? And for people who are very active, that can be torturous for them.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
So people who've been on retreat before, they have some ideas of what they want to do during their free time.
Hmm.
But for some people that can be very difficult, especially I think we live some people live in an environment where they are constantly busy, they
Doing. Yeah.
keep constantly doing things, and all of a sudden they come to a retreat house, and we tell them the opposite. No, your
Hmm.
job is not to do things.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
job is to relax a little bit, and so on. And for some people, it takes some adjustments. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been going for about 30 minutes. I think before we wrap up, maybe get the next 10, 15 minutes, maybe with two questions. Like one of them would be like, what's been one of the most moving experiences uh, for you as a director listening in to another person's prayers? Like, if you can share something like that, and what's your prayer life like? Maybe we can spend this minutes talking a little bit about those two. And
Let's take the second one first. Uh, the nice thing about working at a retreat house is that it forces me to pray. You can
good.
accompany. You can be a director if you don't pray. Uh,
Yeah.
and I have my own struggles with prayer.
Hmm.
So in some ways, I can relate to people who struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and we each of us have to find our own ways, our own method of praying.
Mm.
Uh, and For me, every day I usually pray from 6 to 7 for an hour. Sometimes, some days, most of the days, I would read the scripture of the day because as a priest, I use scriptures and also I prepare my homilies by
Mm.
reflecting on scriptures. But my most common way of prayer is doing the examen
Mm.
um, for half an hour a day, just looking at the events that happens. Um, Sometimes going over some of the things that people share doing spiritual direction, and just
Mm.
spend some time in silence to hear what God is saying. Sometimes I would be too busy thinking when I'm conversing with them
Mm. Mm-hmm.
to hear what's going on.
So in the
And so
exam, you
for
just kind
me,
of let it soak in.
yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
um, not so much about going through everything and seeing, trying to solve issues and problems, but just to have a sense of where things are, where things are heading. I think with us we call it movement of the spirit. Where is
Mm.
God
Mm.
trying to lead the person? Part of my prayer, and I'm doing it more these days, is actually I look at my calendar every day when
Uh-huh.
in the morning when I pray, uh, and I try to look through the events and see what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I'm going to the doctor, I need to remember to bring my prescription, to bring my mask.
Yeah,
God knows
yeah.
what else.
Very
Also
practical.
pray, yeah. but just to offer the activities to God.
Mm.
In the examen, I think sometimes the fifth step is to look forward
Mm.
uh, to and what's a better place to do that than during prayer.
Yeah.
I look at these events, I offer them to God, and uh, I have all the time I need to worry about things
Yeah.
within the context of prayer. And more and more, I try to get out and take a little walk.
Mm.
Here in Grand Coteau, it is so humid that uh, this time of year, early morning and late afternoon are the two best times to go out, and that's something I'm trying to do more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about my own prayer.
Yeah. That this former prayer, just to say, I've heard several Jesuits kind of doing this thing of praying in the morning is like, almost like a reverse examine, right? And even like I think if it's prayer, I think to an extent for me, when I've done it, it's been also like, where do I think I'm gonna find God today, or like asking God, like, where might I find you today when I go to the doctor, or where are you gonna be there? Yeah, and then later in the examen, at the end, like, well, was God where I thought He was gonna be, or how did He surprise me? But I
I
guess the
actually
challenge
learned
with
it.
that kind of prayer is to not get stuck in the like you start looking at your to-do lists and almost like you get this urge to like, okay, I need to do this now, right? Have you had this issue?
I actually learned it from a friend. Every morning he would print out his daily schedule.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he actually prints it out. Yeah, and he takes it with him and into prayer. Yeah,
Hmm.
and offer the schedule to God for the
Ooh,
day.
that's
Yeah, I
beautiful.
think the same temptation when you start looking at and then you get trapped into the details and you start planning things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not time to plan. It's more of an overall view. For me, it is also practical. If I don't do that,
Sure.
I forget.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
show up at
And to bring
appointment.
God into that is wonderful. Yeah.
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 Technology is wonderful. I carry my phone with me so that I can check my schedule mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a wonderful device
Sure.
if used properly. One of the prayers I'm trying to do is throughout the day, I would try to pause 4 or 5 times for 30 seconds for a minute,
Hmm.
and then give thanks to God and to offer what I'm about to do
Hmm.
to God, asking for help. If I'm going in the morning when I go and meet retreatants, I give thanks to God for the retreatants, for
Hmm.
their willingness to share or whatever it is. And then I would ask for God's help. I'm about to go in here. Help me
Hmm.
to listen,
Listen
to
well
do
to this
what.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find you there. Yeah.
Also, to offer it to God is it's
Hmm.
God's time.
Hmm.
So if anything goes wrong, it's God's fault, not mine.
That's good.
No, but the idea is to be in
Yeah.
communion.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the when I was at the SLU High, we used to say in the morning, we offer our thoughts, words, and actions to God, for
Hmm.
the glory of God. And so, in some ways, it helps to sanctify the moments, what we do. Also, it's a practical things. We ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Now, what was the other question?
Yeah. Well, the other question was like, has there been something memorable, maybe recent or not, that as you were listening to someone in spiritual direction, you were being moved? You're talking about
Oh, okay.
finding this in prayer, in your own prayer. Like, do you mind sharing one of those that maybe came up in one of those examens, and just to end up
I
with
would
it?
just speak in general.
Mm-hmm.
one of the graces of working in here for me, and I hear other directors saying the same thing, is the gift, the privilege of accompanying people in their spiritual journey. Yeah. Um, if you think about it, people a lot of time are on their best behavior at retreat.
Sure.
Not because they need to behave, but they are relaxed.
Mm.
They don't have to worry about things, and so they can be they get in touch with their good side, and so meeting them at their best, spiritually, physically, and so on, is a gift. You don't get to do that often at work sometimes,
Yeah.
at home. Also, just witnessing some of the most beautiful moments in people's life. Sometimes we professional retreatants, people who've been on retreat forever, every year, forget that many people cannot afford to go on retreat every year,
Yeah.
or they can only afford to go on 3 or 5 days.
Mm.
And for many of them, it can be a pivotal moment in their life. They make
Mm-hmm.
important decisions. Some people go on retreat before they get married. Some people go on retreat before they are ordained,
Mm-hmm.
or they reflect on. I have several people who discern on switching career. Yeah,
Mm.
and so it's just beautiful to see
Mm.
uh, how God works. I
Mm.
usually tell them, I know what God wants for you. You go ahead and switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you don't.
God just told me, quit your job and
Yeah.
uh,
But wow,
but
yeah.
it's they sometimes they don't even tell their spouse, about
Mm.
some of the things they were
Oh, that they're praying about this.
struggling with.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
well, and then uh, uh, we try our best to help to the job is to help them to see things more clearly, and
Sure.
usually they know what they are being asked
Mm-hmm.
to decide, and what to do. They need some confirmation. They need to see things more clearly, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a gift to be able to see God in action, kind of in those pivotal moments. Yeah. Yeah.
It also works the other way. Some people are struggling with their faith. They lost faith
Mm.
because different events, and so just to be with them, they still have some desire. Anybody who comes to a retreat house has some sort of desires
Yeah.
to meet God, to be with God, or however you want to see it. Yeah. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Even in their struggles, their issues, they may have some personal struggles, maybe addictions or other things. But to be trusted when people come and share their spiritual journey, including some very personal struggles, and to pray for them and affirm them in their struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. What a gift. Yeah. To be able
Yeah. Sometimes
to
I
be
tell
there for
people
people in those times.
I work here because I got a big office and a nice car and a big house.
Yeah.
Uh,
But, yeah. But yeah, I guess yeah, these are the type of things that really make us realize why we do it for real. Yeah.
I
So
guess it's also part of the the attraction for me with spirituality. Spirituality is where God meets reality, where our
Mm-hmm.
faith is being put to practice.
Yeah.
And so I have the privilege of being with people and listening and discussing with them on some of the issues that are most important to some people's life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that is one of the attraction for me. Yeah, it's interesting that we have 4 or 5 Vietnamese in the province, and I think, with the exception of Bao, all of us and Quang, the other ones are in retreat ministry.
That's right.
at least at least there are 4 of us. Yeah,
There's great
Joe Took
demand. Yeah.
in Denver, and then Derek Vole in Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
me, and then Hein Farm in Denver. And Hung also does a lot of retreats.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
We live here with Joe Took. He's also,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds like there's a lot of demand because they've done a really good job. A lot of them with the CLCs and other things that bringing in kind of their or, or realizing of their need for uh, retreat regularly. So yeah,
Yeah, I think some of us were attracted to the society through spirituality,
yeah,
to Ignatian spirituality, and
mm-hmm.
that's something that keeps uh, draws us to retreat ministry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, John, it's been a real privilege and a joy talking to you. Thank you for this time. It's
Well,
been
thank you
wonderful.
for this great opportunity to be with you and trying to be a YouTube star or whatever
Oh, God help
star.
us now. Trying to be of service a little bit and share the wisdom of the province to others.
uh,
But thank you for your help also setting this up, and we'll keep everybody listening in our prayers, right? Uh,
we'll continue to keep learning.
that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So please put your comments. If there was something that you take, if there's something that a suggestion for the future, for future conversations, we'll keep going around the province, listening to what God is doing. All right. Thank you, John, and
All right.
many blessings to
Take care.
everybody.